One incredible gala kiss transformed everything this billionaire CEO's hidden obsession exposed. Emma stood at the edge of the room, her heart racing, watching glimmering lights dance on crystal glasses as laughter mingled with the sound of a string quartet. Surrounded by the elite of the advertising world, the pressure pressed against her like a weight she couldn't shake. She had long dreamed of this moment, her chance to shine at one of the most prestigious agencies in San Francisco. Yet here, among so much success, she felt the isolating grasp of doubt tighten around her. Just a few months in, her determination seemed to invite scorn from her colleagues. To them, her scrappy upbringing was more of a liability than a strength. Their sideways glances felt like daggers, each laugh peeling away her confidence. Emma had never backed down from a challenge, but this felt like a different battle entirely. She poured herself into every project, but voices of doubt crept in with every presentation she made. Was she too eager? Was her passion a marker of desperation? She fought to keep her chin up. The stakes had never felt higher. Student loans loomed like a haunting specter, and failure was not an option. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But then the unexpected kiss happened, a fleeting spark shared with Alex Monroe, the enigmatic CEO under whose shadow she had labored daily. That moment felt electric, blooming amidst the glossy surfaces of the gala. But with it came chaos. What had she done? One kiss that had ignited something deep within her, a longing she wrestled with daily. Emma had affection for Alex, but she was pulled between loyalty to her growing feelings and the fear that it could all turn to ash in an instant. As their connection deepened, curiosity clashed against the professional walls she had so carefully built. Then, tensions rose. She overheard talk of a project Alex was leading, one that skirted ethical boundaries she was taught to hold sacred. They were going to redefine advertising, but at what cost? Emma's heart sank as she wrestled between supporting Alex, who had become a beacon of ambition for her, and adhering to her beliefs that every creation should be honest, not spin. All of this culminated in a thunderous moment when Emma discovered betrayal lurking in the agency, whispers of Alex's ruthless strategies emerging. A sense of dread coiled tightly around her as she realized the connection they forged now hung by the thinnest of threads. What if the truth about Alex and the project surfaced? Would she expose him and risk losing everything, including the fragile bond they shared? Standing in her studio apartment, staring at blank canvases begging for colors she could barely muster, she felt trapped. The choices layered upon her suffocated her thoughts. One misstep could unravel them, both her career, her heart, everything. Just as she braced herself to confront this tempest, her phone buzzed. A call from Alex. Her breath caught in her throat. Inside, a storm raged. Would this call solidify their connection or unravel the delicate tapestry she had woven with him? Emma stood at a crossroad, unsure which path would illuminate the truth she so desperately sought, or doom them both to a silence filled with secrets. Emma inhaled sharply as she stared at her phone. The screen glowed with Alex's name, every pixel conveying a million possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Did he sense the turmoil within her? She fought the urge to ignore the call, to cloak herself in silence. Instead, she pressed accept and brought the phone to her ear. Emma, his voice was warm, yet there was an urgency that set her nerves ablaze. I need to talk to you. There are things happening, and I want you to be part of the conversation. As he spoke, she couldn't help but wonder if he was unaware of the fissures forming between them, or if he was deliberately burying them beneath business talk. I'm listening, she replied, keeping her tone steady, though inside she trembled. I want you on the team for the new campaign. Your perspective is essential. Each word he spoke felt heavy, sewn together with unspoken implications. Yet the edges of his invitation pricked at her consciousness. Was it purely professional, or did the underlying currents of their earlier connection flow there too? What kind of perspective are we talking about? Her voice wavered, but she pressed on, unable to back down now. She recalled the whispers about the project boasting about bold tactics that danced dangerously close to dishonesty. Revolutionary, he replied. But you'd have to trust me. Trust. The word lingered in the air, tainted by uncertainty. She thought back to their kiss, an ember of chemistry clouded by the shadows of doubt. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself to stay true to her principles while getting swept away in the turbulence he created around her? I have to think about it, Emma finally stated, her voice firmer than she felt. There are ethical lines that shouldn't be crossed, Alex. Silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of what was unspoken. Emma's heart raced as she imagined him processing her words. Perhaps her hesitance would convince him to drop this reckless campaign, to rethink his strategy. Instead, he spoke again, his tone edged with determination. I understand where you're coming from, Emma. But sometimes, you have to break the rules to change the game. You can be part of something bigger. The allure was undeniable. She could almost taste the taste of success that he dangled before her eyes. Bigger projects, bigger paycheck, and perhaps a bigger chance to be with him. Yet, a gut-wrenching fear held her back. Is it worth sacrificing integrity for ambition? She asked, her voice suddenly resonating with the weight of her upbringing. As a child, she clung to values instilled by her parents, who often struggled to find their place in a world ripe with lies. His response came slowly, as if he hadn't anticipated such a question. Sometimes, the world demands sacrifices, Emma. You'll be a shining star with me at your side. Just think about what you really want. She hung up, feeling a mix of empowerment and despair. Was she ready to compromise in such a crucial way? Though she relished the idea of proving herself, the prospect of participating in a morally ambiguous project gnawed at her like a relentless tide. Emma sank into her old, worn armchair, the fabric familiar yet suffocating. She thought about the moments that defined her. Every setback was an opportunity to rise again. This could be her pivotal moment of transformation. But at what cost? Staring into nothingness, she realized she faced more than a career decision. This was a test of her values, her integrity, and the kind of person she wanted to become. With her heart plummeting, she resolved to confront Alex not just about the project, but about what they meant to each other. As the initial thrill of ambition waned, a new fire ignited within her in need for clarity. The moment of truth was approaching. Would she challenge the very man who set her ambitions ablaze? It was time to face that question head-on. Emma clenched her fists as she stood in front of the mirror, her reflection a portrait of uncertainty and determination. The weight of Alex's words echoed in her mind, pushing her to confront him not only about the campaign, but about where they stood amidst the chaos of ambition and emotion. She had waited too long to assert herself. It was time to articulate what she wanted for her career, for her values, and for her heart. She chose a tailored blazer, a small attempt to armor herself for the conversation ahead. Every fastener clicked into place, felt like a silent vow. She wouldn't let herself be swept away. She had seen how ambition could twist a person's morals, how easily the allure of success could blind someone to the consequences of their choices. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself. Moments later, the conference room loomed large before her, glass walls reflecting her mixed emotions. The decision weighed heavily on her shoulders. She could feel the warm hum of excitement from outside, where the launch event surrounding the campaign was already buzzing in the distance. Yet, this was not a time for distractions. This was a reckoning. As Emma stepped into the room, sensing the tension at the table, all eyes turned to her. The team had gathered, but in that moment, only Alex's gaze pierced through the crowd. His expression was unreadable, a mix of anticipation and challenge. She felt small and empowered all at once. This wasn't just about persuasion. It was about asserting her stance in the face of corporate ambition. Emma, he said, his tone both inviting and commanding. Glad you're here. We were just discussing potential angles for the campaign. She adjusted her posture, refusing to be intimidated. I need to talk to you before we dive into that. It's important. The lump in her throat threatened to choke her resolve, but she pushed through. I have concerns about the project's direction, specifically the ethical implications at play. A ripple of surprise washed over the table, yet Alex remained steady. I expected as much. You've always been the voice of conscience. His smile was disarming, yet held an edge. But every great opportunity demands a leap of faith, right? I can't leap without questioning where the ground really stands, she shot back, biting back her nerves. We're talking about crossing lines here, Alex. I understand the pressure, but at what expense? Each word spilled from her lips with an urgency she hadn't anticipated. The conversation shifted, the energy in the room rapidly transformed. Alex leaned in, the tension palpable. What if being part of this campaign could send a message that integrity can coexist with ambition? We could redefine the rules, he urged, his voice almost hypnotic. Emma felt the pull, the seductive promise that reverberated with a part of her that craved acknowledgement, advancement. Yet, beneath that allure lay an undeniable truth. But that entails a risk. One misstep, and we compromise everything, she responded, grounding herself with a reality she could not ignore. His gaze didn't waver. This could be a defining moment for us, Emma. It isn't just about the campaign. It's the legacy we can create together. The unspoken tension between them sparked an intensity that made her heart race. Blurring lines she wasn't sure she wanted to cross. An uncomfortable silence filled the space, pregnant with possibilities and unspoken fears. The decision ahead teetered precariously on the edge of her convictions. You think it's easy to redefine, but what if we fail? What if I sacrifice my values and lose everything I stand for? Her doubts surfaced, an urgent reminder of the foundation upon which she built her life. Something in Alex shifted. You're stronger than you think, Emma. I see it in you every day, he replied, his tone softening, the walls around him momentarily coming down. But I cannot do this alone. The invitation dangled in the air, both thrilling and terrifying. Did she dare accept? What if becoming part of something bigger meant abandoning the very essence of who she was? Internal conflict raged on, yet for the first time in a long while, Emma felt alive with possibility. It was more than just a decision. It was a confrontation with her potential, her courage, and her willingness to take risks in pursuit of her dreams. In that instant, she knew this was the moment that could define her future, not just as a professional, but as a person. What lay ahead would challenge her ideals and her relationship with Alex. Both paths led to uncharted territory. But one question lingered, haunting yet adventurous. Would she emerge a venerated pioneer or succumb to the chaos of ambition? Determined, she prepared to carve her own destiny, knowing all too well that it was time to confront not just Alex, but the very essence of what she stood for. Would Emma embrace the unknown, or retreat into the safety of her established principles? The crossroads awaited her decision, and so did an unexpected outcome. The air hung thick with anticipation as Emma stood at the brink of her decision. Her mind raced, caught between conflicting desires, her ambition nudging her toward the new and uncertain, and her principles pulling her back to a sense of safety she long embraced. To become part of Alex's vision would mean embracing a version of success that felt perilously close to compromise. Emma, Alex's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back into the present. What do you want? The question echoed in the room, solemn and infinite. The weight behind his inquiry was more than merely professional. It was deeply personal. His words painted a canvas of potential futures, and Emma's heart pounded as she considered the implications of each stroke. She glimpsed a life where she could carve her own destiny, but the picture came with shadows, compromises that could taint her vision. Honestly, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I want to create work that matters. I want to make a difference without crossing lines I can't uncross. Striking this balance was not just an ideal, it was the cornerstone of her career. Then let us redefine those lines, Alex urged, leaning closer, his eyes locked onto hers. You are the only one with the vision to push this far. We need your voice. His appeal felt like both a challenge and a lifeline, yet she couldn't help but question his motives. Did he see her as an equal partner, or simply a tool in his grand ambition? Emma's internal debate raged silently, a tempest of resolve versus doubt. She pictured the team, their admiration for her grounded ethics, her unwavering commitment to integrity. If we take this leap, it has to be with transparency. With accountability, she replied, slipping into a more assertive stance. We can't promise something we can't deliver ethically. Alex raised an eyebrow, a spark igniting behind his expression. You're not wrong, but we can aim higher. What if we run a dual campaign, one that highlights our values while still pursuing aggressive goals? His vision unfurled before her, a tempting narrative that could rewrite the script they were working from. The gears in Emma's mind began to turn, the possibilities illuminated by his proposal. If she could harness that creativity, maybe, just maybe, they could pull off a successful campaign without sacrificing core principles. Yet, a storm of apprehension brewed within her. But what if those ambitious targets lead us to cut corners? What if my name gets tied to something I can't stand behind? Then it's our job to ensure we won. Alex responded, every bit the bold leader Emma had both admired and feared. Together, we can keep each other in check. We can create a new standard in this industry. Something shifted within Emma, a spark of excitement mingled with fear. She realized there was more at stake than just a campaign. It was the potential to redefine her role in this corporate landscape. Could she genuinely partner with Alex without losing herself in the process? As moments stretched into what felt like an eternity, she caught a glimpse of herself reflected in the glass wall, the woman she could become. But this transformation demanded more than just professional collaboration. It required trust, shared vision, and a leap unlike any she had ever taken. Okay, she breathed, her pulse quickening, each word heavier than the last. Let us explore this partnership. But there's always a but, he interrupted, grinning. What is your condition? I need assurance, full transparency on all communications. I want to be the last to know if things spiral. The negotiation was critical. She needed to safeguard her values as she ventured into this new territory. Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of her request. Deal. But only if you promise to bring your best self to the table. She met his gaze, the intensity shimmering between them. Emma understood that this was not merely a tactical arrangement, but a test of her authenticity. The conversation shifted, morphing into a brainstorming session filled with possibilities. Ideas flowed between them, like currents of electricity, invigorating and exhilarating. As they delved deeper, Emma's fears transformed into energy, igniting her passion for the project. Yet, beneath the thrill surged a creeping doubt. Was she losing sight of herself in this exciting whirlwind? After hours of discussion, they arrived at concepts that sparkled with potential, yet within the excitement, a gnawing question lingered. Who was she, really, in this newfound role? As the meeting concluded, Emma felt torn between exhilaration and apprehension. It was a risk that might thrust her into the limelight, but it could also unravel the very fabric of her moral compass. What awaited her on this newly paved path? Tomorrow she would face an audience of critical stakeholders, and the stakes had never been higher. Would she stand by her convictions, or let ambition lead her astray? The time had come to face a defining chapter in her life, one that teetered on the brink of breakthrough or betrayal. But would she be brave enough to embrace the unknown, even if it meant confronting her deepest fears? The sun rose the next morning, but Emma felt a chilling sense of foreboding as she prepared for the meeting. Each stroke of her makeup brush seemed to highlight not just her features, but also the vulnerabilities threatening to surface beneath the facade. She had spent her career carefully constructing her reputation. Now, those walls seemed perilously thin. Standing by the window, she watched the city wake up, the streets bustling with promise, while internally, she wrestled with lingering doubts. Was it ambition that drove her forward, or a desperate need for validation? Through their brainstorming, Emma's innate creativity thrived under Alex's influence. Yet each appealing concept bore the risk of ethical compromise. A small voice within her insisted it would be easy to veer off track, to forget the principles she had clung to for so long. In stark contrast to her fraught inner dialogue, her colleagues in the office embraced an air of enthusiasm. They spoke of possibilities with buoyant confidence, their excitement palpable. Each one looked to her as a leader, and the growing weight of their expectations weighed heavily on her shoulders. She felt the flicker of doubt sizzle with the pressure of their reliance on her, and behind their admiration, she feared they could detect her uncertainty. Arriving at the boardroom, Emma took a deep breath, stepping into the spotlight. Alex stood beside her, a confident smile in place. The connection they had forged echoed in her chest, both invigorating and intimidating. Was this partnership to be a beacon of innovation or a sleek mask for true intentions? As introductions began, Emma struggled to balance the eagerness bubbling inside her with the tension coiling tighter around her due to what loomed ahead. Their presentation promised a bold shift, an adventurous leap into uncharted waters that those stakeholders had only whispered about. She sensed the thrill almost vibrate in the air, her chance to etch her vision into reality. When Alex launched into the risks and benefits, Emma's heart raced. Despite the nervous flutter twisting in her gut, she seized the reins at the appropriate moment, her words spilling out with conviction. This campaign will not only capture attention, it will ignite conversations about our shared values. This is about creating impact beyond the typical bottom line, she declared, making eye contact with individual stakeholders, drawing them in. The atmosphere shifted, the board members energizing at her enthusiasm. Yet, as applause gently echoed around the room, another voice lurking within her whispered cautions. Could it have been too bold? Would they push for results that pressured her to abandon her principles? Just as she began to feel the momentum resonate, a hard question punctuated the symphony of endorsements. What is the fallback plan if we miss our targets? One stakeholder challenged. The room fell into a weighted silence, and as Alex turned to her with an expectant gaze, she felt the harsh light illuminating not just the prospect of failure, but the potential erosion of her integrity washed in their ambitions. Taking a moment to let the implications sink in, her mind raced to formulate a response. Panic began to tighten her throat, but the reality was clear. This was her moment to either surrender to fear or exhibit true leadership. We must remain adaptive. If we're held accountable to our promised objectives, we will develop scalable strategies that embody our values, she answered, feeling the steel form in her resolve. After the meeting concluded, Emma walked away with a sense of accomplishment, but the twinges of dread returned. How deep-rooted lay her commitment to transparency and value-based success. For every idea she shared, how many unvoiced concerns bubbled beneath the surface. Later that night, she revisited their notes and pondered over every slide locked in an email sent out earlier. Would they capitalize on pressure for profit over principle? The passion that had fueled her thoughts now felt treacherous. Standing at a crossroads, she took a deep breath, her reflection staring back at her, the woman poised on the brink of change, teetering between the ambition she craved and the ideals she vowed never to compromise. As she turned off her laptop, enveloped by shadows of doubt, one chilling thought echoed in her mind. What if ambition and integrity were doomed to remain strangers? The following day, a meeting with a key investor awaited, one with a notorious reputation for cutting through the superficial. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this stakeholder might challenge her on the very foundation of her convictions, and she wondered if she could hold her ground until she was called into the investor's office, and the true nature of the scrutiny she faced dawned. The door clicked shut behind her, the sound reverberating in the stark office. Emma's skin prickled under the scrutinizing gaze of Michael Hart, the infamous investor whose reputation for dissecting proposals and testing the limits of integrity preceded him. The sleek, modern office set the stage, the walls lined with art that spoke of wealth and power. She took a moment to compose herself, her heart pounding a rhythmic challenge against her resolve. Emma, right? His voice was smooth, yet laced with an implicit challenge. Alex had quite the words about your campaign. But let us cut to the chase. What do you really bring to the table? The question hung in the air, pressing down on her like an anvil. Internally, her thoughts surged. Here was her chance. She could either deflect into broad answers or dig deep into the essence of what she believed. She straightened her posture, channeling her determination. My vision doesn't merely focus on profit. It integrates social and ethical values into our strategy. I want our brand to spark meaningful conversations that resonate within the community, beyond just sales peaks, she asserted, meeting his eyes directly. Michael leaned back, crossing his arms. Community conversations don't pay the bills, Emma. Stakeholders want results, and they want them fast. Can you deliver that? The challenge was clear. He was not merely interested in rhetoric. With a slight smile, he added, why should we believe you one crumble under pressure? The weight of his question crashed over her. She recalled the nagging doubts that had threatened her clarity, yet something shifted within. She had walked into this room with intentions forged from her convictions. I thrive under pressure, and my commitment to our values only strengthens my resolve. When faced with challenges, adapting while remaining true to our mission is precisely what I aim to embody. A moment of silence ensued, the tension palpable as she registered the slightest hint of approval in his unflinching stare. For the first time, the hardened exterior surrounding the investor seemed to crack. Still, she sensed that the question was not solely about the campaign. It was a reflection of her potential under scrutiny. Could she truly execute and protect her ideals at the same time? Everyone talks of values, Emma. But when the whistle blows, will you be able to say no when it counts? He probed, sharp as a knife. The directness hit her like ice water. Was she prepared to stand her ground if it meant risking everything? The mere thought sent tremors through her gut. Emma's defenses rallied around the question. If compromise means abandoning our core principles for short-term gain, then I will walk away. There's humility and strength in understanding that not every opportunity is worth pursuing, she answered, feeling a surge of adrenaline surging through her veins. Fighting fire with fire, she began to realize, was fundamental to maintaining integrity, but he studied her for a long moment. His demeanor shifted slightly. The edges of his mouth quirked as if she had managed to break some invisible barrier. Finally, someone with backbone. But understand this, Emma. The world of business is less forgiving than it seems. Decisions made can haunt you. Are you really ready for what comes next? She nodded, the weight of the room anchoring her momentarily, but deep within, a flicker of certainty ignited. She was ready to confront the crossroads of ambition and ethics. She was no longer just following the track laid before her or borrowing the light from others. She wanted to illuminate her own path. In an unexpected twist, he leaned forward, lowering his voice. Let us see how you handle the aftermath of success. I'm willing to back this. But if you falter, remember, the stakes could shatter your carefully built reputation. His eyes locked onto hers as an unspoken bond formed between them in that brief silence. She exited the office and stepped back into the bustling city. A newfound clarity enveloped her. She was not merely riding the currents of ambition, she was deliberate in her choices. Yet, another thought crept in. Already challenging her resolve was this newfound conviction strong enough to survive the inevitable tests ahead. That evening, deep in contemplation, Emma realized she was on the brink of something monumental. The echoes of Michael's words weighed on her mind, and as she stared out at the city illuminated by the dusk, she couldn't help but wonder, was she prepared for the true test of integrity that lay ahead? The next morning bathed Emma in a pale, wintry light that seeped through her apartment windows, brushing away the remnants of doubt left from the night before. The city outside buzzed with the hum of life, yet she felt cocooned in introspection. With a steaming cup cradled in her hands, Emma stared out, seeking clarity. The weight of Michael's challenge lingered, vibrating within her core as she processed their exchange. Hunched against the kitchen table, she grabbed her notebook, scribbling down ideas and strategies. Each line brought her a step closer to formulating a plan that combined her values with the harsh demands of the business world. What exactly did she want to accomplish? The answer danced tantalizingly out of reach, teasing her, forcing her to articulate her passionate vision into tangible steps. Her fingers traced the edges of the notebook, where a small doodle of a tree symbolizing growth caught her eye. She realized profound parallels existed between nurturing a tree and guiding her project. Just as roots must dig deep into nourishing soil, her campaign needed a foundation built on trust and integrity. It was essential to create connections, not just transactions. The notion crystallized, and she jotted a bullet point: foster genuine partnerships. As she outlined her marketing strategy, combining ethical choices with efficiency, she felt the synergy of her ideals morphing into pragmatic approaches. A sense of purpose swelled within her chest, filling the previously hollow space created by uncertainty. Later that morning, she hopped onto a call with her team. Each member was handpicked for their commitment to ethical business practices and innovative thinking. The meeting kicked off with excitement, electric energy crackling through the group as she unveiled her newly clarified vision. The response was immediate. Heads nodded, and their eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as they engaged with each point. It felt like they were being drawn into a shared mission, a movement that transcended mere profit. However, as the energy climbed, one voice cut through. Alex, her close friend and marketing strategist, raised an eyebrow, his expression shifting into a careful analysis. Emma, it sounds fantastic, but we also need to attract investors who care more about the bottom line, those like Michael. Are we prepared to tackle that balance? His words placed a damper on her enthusiasm, shifting the focus back to a reality she couldn't ignore. The knot in her stomach tightened. She realized Alex was right. They needed more than a great idea. The question loomed larger: could she reconcile her values while meeting the expectations of hard-nosed investors who prioritize profit? Emma's heart raced. This was a critical moment. I want our campaign to resonate with people, but those people also have bills to pay, right? Let us consider how we can demonstrate to potential investors that ethical practices can lead to sustainable financial success, she suggested, her voice steady despite the tumult inside. This new angle invoked a wave of innovative ideas from the team, and soon they bounced concepts off one another, merging creativity with strategy. Emma felt the energy return. This was teamwork in its finest form, where every member's input mattered. For the first time in a long while, she felt empowered, beginning to see potential in the ways she could blend her convictions with the need for financial viability. As the meeting came to a close, Emma's spirit soared with the possibilities that lay ahead. Yet, lurking beneath that thrill was an ever-present anxiety. Would her new allies hold steady when tempted by shortcuts? That long day ended with Emma standing alone in front of her bathroom mirror, replaying moments from the team discussion. Yet, just before sleep enfolded her in its embrace, the enormity of the journey ahead struck her anew. Tomorrow would not just bring the dawn of a campaign, but also the first confrontation with her most formidable challenge: the necessity of facing her values against the backdrop of uncompromising profitability. With resolve igniting within her heart, Emma understood that it was the readiness to navigate this gray area that would define her path forward. Lines were being drawn, and the battle she would face could transcend the professional realm. It could carve out her identity itself. Embracing that thought, a shiver of anticipation coursed through her. What hidden strengths would emerge as she confronted these crossroads? Would her integrity be her shield or her burden when the real tests unfolded ahead? Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, spilling its warmth onto the kitchen floor as Emma gulped down the last of her coffee. Today marked a pivotal point not just for her upcoming campaign, but for how she would choose to define herself within this convoluted business landscape. The stakes had never felt higher. It was time to confront Michael directly, with clarity and conviction. Dressing for the meeting, Emma chose her outfit carefully. Each piece felt like a carefully constructed armor, designed to bolster her confidence while embodying her commitment to ethical practice. She opted for a tailored blazer, its clean lines representing professionalism rooted in integrity. Before stepping onto the bustling streets, she took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the crisp air that carried the scent of ambition and uncertainty. City life buzzed around her, but her focus remained singular: the upcoming pitch with potential investors. They represented both opportunity and threat, a duality that reflected her own mounting internal conflict. She often wondered whether she could maintain her core values while skillfully navigating their expectations. Would she seek to convince them of her vision, or simply adapt to fit their mold? Upon arriving at the sleek conference center, the grandeur of the space momentarily took her breath away. It was a temple of commerce, all glass walls and polished surfaces, embodying everything that made her both excited and apprehensive about the business world. She joined her team in a corner, exchanging encouraging nods as they rehearsed their points amidst murmurs of confidence mixed with lingering doubt. Remember, it's all about showing how our approach can generate long-term gains, Emma reminded her team, determination threading through her voice. This was her moment to articulate the melding of ethics and profit. Her vision crystallized into a thesis worthy of investment. They were finally ushered into the main room, where the investors waited. Emma sensed the palpable tension in the air, a battlefield of expectations and aspirations. She stood at the front, palm pressed against the lectern, feeling the warmth of the polished wood beneath her fingertips. The moment of truth loomed. With the presentation underway, Emma's pitch flowed with an urgency that felt transformative. She narrated the journey of their campaign, weaving stories of genuine connections alongside financial projections. With each statistic, she punctuated her points with the human element, illustrating the positive impact their project would entail not just for stakeholders, but for the community it aimed to support. But as she glanced at Michael, seated among the investors, a shadow flickered over her resolve. His discerning gaze probed her sincerity. Could he perceive the slight tremor in her voice when she spoke of values? Emma could feel her stomach knot as his expression shifted from intrigue to skepticism, forcing her to confront her deepest anxieties. She wasn't merely selling a project. She was laying bare parts of her spirit. When the moment for questions arrived, Michael leaned forward. Emma, you speak passionately about integrity. But how can you promise this approach will lead to profitability? Aren't you, in essence, risking the very success you're aiming for? His challenge reverberated through the room, igniting a tremor deep within her. Emma steadied herself and met his gaze. This was a defining moment, not just for the campaign, but for her entire journey. By investing in ethical practices today, we're not only opening doors to a market that increasingly demands transparency, but we are also nurturing loyalty among customers who value integrity, she countered, clarity emerging from her nerves. The conversation shifted, a discussion blossoming around the potential for sustainability in financial and ethical terms. Emma felt the tide turning, albeit slowly, as other investors nodded, recognizing the merit in her arguments. A flicker of hope ignited within her. This wasn't just about winning their approval but also fortifying her resolve. As the pitch concluded, Emma sensed a mixture of relief and accomplishment flood over her. Yet, a different kind of anxiety loomed on the horizon. Would her commitment to her values remain intact as the pressure escalated? With the meeting behind her, a new weight anchored her heart, a deeper understanding of what was at stake. In the pursuit of success, how far was she truly willing to go? As she exited the building, the meaning of Michael's question echoed through her mind, merging with her tense thoughts. The battle for her identity had only just begun. Was the pursuit of profit worth compromising the principles she held dear? As she walked to her car, determination surged again. She would confront her fears head-on. What allies would she find in this quest for authenticity? Would embracing her values threaten her ambitions or sharpen her resolve instead? Emma sat behind her desk, the remnants of the meeting still echoing in her mind. The air felt heavy with unresolved tensions, a stark contrast to the fleeting exhilaration she had felt during her pitch. Papers lay scattered, leftovers of her meticulous preparation, but her attention drifted beyond them, lost in the weight of Michael's challenge. Why had his skepticism unsettled her so profoundly? It was as though he had struck at the very core of her beliefs. While she had stood in front of the investors bearing her vision, it seemed he had seen right through her, exposing the vulnerable intersections between her ambitions and the values she treasured. Emma, a voice jolted her back. Sienna, her colleague, burst into the office, her energy palpable. Did you hear any updates? I think it went well, Yeah, it did, Emma replied, attempting to mirror Sienna's enthusiasm, but the excitement felt muted. We did a good job. The investors seemed to have engaged with the sustainability angle. Sienna raised an eyebrow, folding her arms with a knowing look. But you're still thinking about Michael, aren't you? What was that all about? She stepped closer, concern etched on her face. Yes, I guess. He made me question whether I'm really doing what's necessary to ensure our success. Emma let out a sigh, pinching the bridge of her nose, the tension ebbing through her. Aren't we all? Sienna shrugged, ready to dismiss the issue, but Emma couldn't allow herself to pacify her doubts so easily. The moment was pivotal. She could either define her path or let outside perceptions shape her destiny. Sienna continued, you've got to accept that the business world demands flexibility, and sometimes it means bending a bit until it's clear what your own rules are. Besides, you've clearly got passion. That must count for something, right? But should it? Emma challenged, meeting Sienna's gaze dead on. When is it ever just passion that hits the mark? I'm scared that if I give in, I'll slowly dilute everything I stand for. Ethics will become an afterthought. With a thoughtful nod, Sienna gestured to the pitch notes on the desk. Well, what do we have? Clear data, objectives, a strong plan rooted in values. The numbers support your vision. Just remember, you're not alone in this. We're all invested in it. Sienna's words hung in the air, igniting a spark within Emma. Perhaps the journey of not just proving her concept, but also retaining her integrity was the very challenge she needed. Where could she find those who would stand by her? Maybe, Emma contemplated, feeling newfound energy flow through her. It's time to rally the team together not just for the next meeting, but to dig deeper into what this campaign could represent in the long run. Exactly, Sienna smiled, momentum building. Let us strategize a way to seek partnerships that share our values, appealing to those investors who crave the integrity angle just as much as we do. Emma's resolve sharpened. If she could unify her team's strengths around these core beliefs, maybe they could propel her vision into something transformative and authentic. No longer merely a question of sales pitches and numbers, it became a cause worth fighting for. Feeling emboldened, she pulled out her laptop and began drafting plans for a team brainstorming session that would not only focus on the financial aspects, but also weave in their unified ethical commitments. Stepping into leadership, Emma considered how these discussions would shape their identity and strengthen their narrative. Could they revolutionize how the market perceived ethical practices within the business world? As the day wound down, she caught her reflection in the window more insistent, unwavering. Her identity was not merely an emotional anchor, but a powerful guiding force. Still, a nagging question remained. Could they genuinely resonate with an audience that might ultimately value profit over principles? Her heart raced. Tomorrow was not just another day. It was an opportunity to pin a new chapter in her journey, transforming fears into collaborations. As the evening set in, Emma felt not fear, but exhilaration wash over her. The moment approached, brimming with potential. What resistance would they face as they turned intentions into actions? Would the pursuit of authenticity solidify their success, or would they be met with unforeseen challenges? The sun streamed through the office window, illuminating the countless pages of notes strewn around Emma's desk. Today was not just another day. It was the day that would crystallize her ambitions into a reality. Emma had decided to take ownership not just of her project, but of her identity within the corporate landscape. She was ready to confront the most formidable challenges of her career, and she was no longer willing to compromise. From the early hours of the morning, Emma gathered her team, reigniting a flame of collaboration that sparked creativity and commitment to ethical principles. We're not just launching a campaign today, we are shaping a narrative. Our vision aligns profitability with integrity, she declared. The team buzzed with enthusiasm, an energy she had not witnessed before. Their shared belief in her mission transformed the atmosphere, morphing apprehension into action. As she outlined their strategy, Emma reflected on how far she had come. Just months ago, she was stifled by doubt, feeling like an outsider in an elite world. But this latest challenge had ignited something within her. The weight of the ethical dilemmas she once feared had become a launching pad for her next step. With Alex's unwavering support and the team's collective momentum, the campaign now represented not just a product launch, but a movement toward responsible marketing. When they finally delivered their presentation to a new cohort of investors, Emma felt the confidence radiate from her being. She was no longer merely showing her passion, she was proving her expertise. This campaign is an evolution of not only advertising but of trust-based relationships, she explained, her voice steady and compelling. One by one, questions flew forth, and Emma tackled each with measured resolve, grounding her answers in data and ethics. The resonance of her words captivated the room. Even Michael, once a skeptic, seemed intrigued. When the presentation concluded, a rich silence filled the air before applause erupted. Their hard work bore fruit, and they secured the commitment of strategic investors excited to align with their vision. Emma's resolve had transformed not just her project, but her standing in the business realm. She was no longer the scrappy newcomer, but a recognized leader drawing forth innovative approaches that in following days. The momentum continued to build exponentially. Emma received requests to speak at industry panels, sharing her experience of balancing ambition with ethics. Each time she stepped onto a stage, an exhilarating surge filled her. She spoke candidly, declaring her insights, and inspiring others who grappled with similar dilemmas. True growth lay not just in securing her place within the corporate hierarchy, but also in deeply understanding her values. Emma learned that success did not reside solely in financial outcomes, but in the authenticity of one's principles transformed into tangible actions. She felt allowed to express her unique perspective, one that many in her audience recognized and cherished. By the end of the quarter, with the launch of the campaign successfully completed, Emma stood in her office, staring at the wall lined with her accomplishments. This time, she felt no weight of insecurity or doubt. Instead, an inspiring sense of clarity washed over her. She had not just met expectations, she had defined a new set of standards within her field. When Alex walked in that day with a proud smile, she felt an electric connection. "You did it," he acknowledged, a tone laced with admiration. The acknowledgement felt profoundly rewarding. It wasn't just about the campaign, but the metamorphosis they both had undergone. Moments later, the phone rang with an unexpected call from higher-ups within the company, recognizing her efforts with a promotion. The recognition that followed cemented her growth. Emma had accomplished more than personal goals. She had shaped her path within the organization. With it came a deeper understanding of her strength and influence in a vast industry still grappling with integrity versus profitability. This was the moment she had worked toward, and she welcomed it not as an end, but as a beginning. She stood before the mirror, her reflection embodying the woman she had become, confident, empowered, and aligned with her values. Emma realized that she had not only transformed her career, but had also fortified her identity, reshaping her narrative from doubt to triumph. Now, her story could inspire many others. Each time she shared her journey, she reminded herself of her initial struggle and ultimate victory. And with that, she understood the importance of supporting others as they navigated their paths. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on future exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.